this video, we are going to continue building our personal finance tracker by bringing in Duke's income data. This will allow us to analyze budget, expenses, and income data together, giving us a more complete picture of Duke's financial health. For today's sample file, you can download it from the description, and when you bring it in, no transformation need to be done in Power Query. Simply select the option Income 1 and immediately click on Load. Let's wait for the data to be loaded. Once it is loaded, let's rename the Income 1 table to Duke's Income. Add a new page that we'll name as BEI, short for Budget, Expenses, and Income. For page 1, we'll simply name it BE, Budget and Expenses. In this new page, we'll bring in a matrix visual. We won't be analyzing the data of income from level 1 to 4. We'll just bring in the value column, which we'll here also rename it as income. And for the rows, we'll bring in year and month from the date hierarchy. Let's quickly rename the sum of income to just income. You will notice the amount is the same across the different years. That's because we have yet to establish relationship between calendar table and Duke's income table. Head over to Model View. In the Model View, we'll click and drag the calendar's date and drop it on top of Duke's income date. Click Save. Now let's return to our report view. Now I see there's only 2025 data. Let's switch our date, year, month to columns field well instead. Click on the Expand button, expand all down one level button to see Duke's income across all 12 months of 2025. We can now bring in the budget and expenses measures that we previously built. In my Duke's budget table, I will bring in leftover budget and utilization percentage.
I will also bring in from the Duke's expenses table
the sum of expenses along with the sum of budget from Duke's budget table. We'll rename the sum of expenses to just expenses and do the same for budget, leaving only budget. Let's rearrange our data with the expenses on top, followed by the budget. Let's actually have income all the way on top instead. Now, I see all of these measures in my matrix. It is currently being displayed in columns. It would be more convenient if I have my data in rows instead. Let's do that by heading into the Format options, Values, Options, and toggle on Switch Values to Rows. Now, in my matrix, I can see all 12 months of 2024 and my measures are oriented in rows. Notice there is no data for income and expenses when it comes to 2024. That's because only 2025 have complete data in the sample data set. Let's filter our matrix to just 2025. We previously tried out the drop-down slicer. In today's video, we'll try out button slicer. Let's move our matrix to around the middle of the page and click away from it, making sure not to select the matrix. Then, in your Power BI visualization pane, click on this icon that when hover over it says button slicer. For this button slicer, we'll bring in just the year from the date hierarchy. All of the years are now displayed as a button. Let's change the arrangement style. Head into Format Options, Multi-Button Layout. For the arrangement, we'll choose Horizontal. And for the columns, we'll put it as 50. Now, it's displaying a lot more years instead of just the 3 columns that we initially saw when we arranged it in horizontal. We'll also head into the General section and toggle off the title, since these numbers would be indicative of the year already. We'll also change the horizontal alignment under the Callout section, Value, Horizontal Alignment to Center. Now let's select the year 2025. Now in my matrix visual, I'm only seeing 2025, January to December. Let's quickly add 2 more measures related to income, but is similar to the previous 2 that we have made, namely leftover budget and utilization percentage. In my Duke's income table, right-click and choose New Measure. For the first one, we'll call it leftover income, equals to the sum of income minus by the sum of expenses. We'll bring in the data, and we'll also create another measure called income utilization percentage. Divide DEX first, sum of expenses divided by the sum of income, with the alternate result being 0. Make sure to also change it to percentage, data type under the measure tools. We'll have 0 decimal place. Now let's bring in into our matrix visual and expand the matrix a little. There's starting to be a few measures that I have to open different tables to take it from if I want to include it in a visual. It's more convenient to have all of the measures to be housed within a single table. In that way, if you have 100 measures, you can find it within the same table instead of having to go through multiple tables or use the search option to comb through your data pane in finding that particular measure. Let's create a measure table by going to the Home tab and click on Enter Data. You will then have this Create Table window where we won't enter anything in this section, but rather directly head to the name here and name it as Measure and load your table. Once you have loaded it, you should see your table located at the very bottom in the data pane. We'll begin by moving the measures into that table. In your model view, open the tables that contain your measures and holding the Control key, click on all of the measures. Control key will allow you to select multiple measures. Once you have selected all 4 measures, in the Properties pane, there is this Home Table drop-down. We'll open it and select Measure. Now, all of your measures are being moved into the Measure table. And one last thing to do is to select the column 1 of your Measure table, right-click, and delete from model. Now, instead of being located at the very bottom of your data pane, the measure table is located all the way top, and the icon is also slightly different. indicating to you that this table serves only one purpose, which is to house the different measures. With it being on top, you will also have an easier time to access all of your measures instead of having to scroll to the bottom of your data pane. Okay. Now with this matrix, we can have an annual review of Duke's data. It's always a retrospective analysis. Once the month concludes, only then Duke will know how has he performed during that month. Or rather, maybe this is something that's more useful towards the end of the year that Duke want to analyze his finance. It will be more convenient if we have a new page called Relative Month, where the data will always display current month or certain months away from current month. If we want to filter the BEI page to the current month, we'll have to click on 2026 while also having another slicer to choose the month January. At least that is my current month. We want to now create a new page, or rather a new filter that allows Power BI every time when the file is open to determine what is the current month by itself, thus requiring us only to open the file rather than having to configure the slicer at every start of the month. To do so, we'll first need to upgrade our calendar table. Head over to your table view and click on the calendar table. We want to first create a new column called Year Offset. For this year offset, we'll begin with the variable this year, which would help us identify what is the year of today. For the second variable, which would be the result, we'll take the date from the particular row and specifically the year of that date and minus it by this year. Now, any month, any date will have its month extracted and minus by the current year. My current year is 2026. When 2021 minus by 2026, it will be -5, implying it is 5 years before 2026. We'll now also build the second and final column called month offset. Similar to the previous formula, we'll have this month, which will be the month of today. Second variable of result, we'll put 1 first, put return result. Now, I won't explain too much about this formula, but know that it will serve our purpose. Simply copy this formula into your own month offset column. Let's press on enter. -60 is a little bit hard to understand what's happening. Let's filter this to -1, 0, and 1. Any value that is 1 implies that it is 1 month after the current month. My current month is the January of 2026, making this month offset of 1 to be the February of 2026. Let me sort my date column. And if it is -1, that would be 1 month before, which is December 2025. If the month offset value is 0, then the value would be the current month, which is January 2026. With this, in our report view, we can bring in the previous matrix that we had into this page by copy and pasting. Then click away from your matrix visual, head over into a calendar table, drag the month offset into this filter on this page filter. It's important that it's under the section filter of this page. For the advanced filtering, we'll choose is -1. Recall earlier -1 should be December 2025. Now the matrix visual is correctly filtering to December 2025. With this, we can bring in a card visual. This card visual will display the 4 measures that we have built so far. Income utilization, leftover budget, leftover income, and utilization. I will arrange the income together and the leftover budget together. Let's also head into the format options to change the layout. We'll change the style. We'll have the style remain as tile, but for the arrangement, we'll change it to grid with 2 columns and 2 rows. We'll reduce the width of the card, and this on top, it will show the income. Below, it will show the leftover budget. We can then play with the filter on this page month offset value to any value that we would like. If you like a current month value, then you will switch it to 0. For the sample data set, 2026 January only have budget data, hence all the blank value that you see on top. When you attempt this exercise on your own, it's likely your current month is very different than mine. So you can play around with this column, with this filter, to find the exact month until any month that has the data in 2025, or you can put in any dummy data within the sample file in order to have values displayed when the month offset is 0. Okay, let's recap what we have learned so far. We brought in Duke's income data without any transformation inside the Power Query. We brought it into a matrix table where we explored the format options under value subsection, options, switch values to rows. This allows the previously column displayed measures to be displayed in rows fashion. We also use a new type of slicer called button slicer to filter the matrix visual to the year 2025. We also add in 2 measures similar to the measures we have built before, but this time it's between income and expenses. Then we create a new page in relative month, which is meant to filter the particular page data to a desired month relative to the current month. Of course, most often, you will use it to display current month data. We accomplish this by heading into calendar table and adding 2 new columns, year offset and month offset. It's important to have year offset first. As you can see in the month offset formula, it uses that particular column to calculate the month offset. Returning to the report view, we brought this newly created month offset column into the filter pane, specifically under filters on this page. By manipulating the value here, we can have it display the data relative to that month. My current month is January 2026, hence if it's 0, it will be that particular month. -1 is a month before, giving us 2025 December, and +1 is 1 month after, giving us 2026 February. We also added a card visual in this new relative month page, where we brought in the measures and explored under the multi-card layout, the arrangement grid, 2 columns and 2 rows. If this page is meant to display the current month data, it's unlikely that we'll be using this matrix vision, although this is up to your personal preference. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.